PDL Week 6. Big win last week for the Toronto Rock Slide. Makes it a lot more likely that we can build some momentum and go into the playoffs with it. But we have gone this week from one opponent at the top of the standings to another one at the top of the standings. And really, I think it's best that we start, as always, by looking at those standings right now. Because a lot happened last week. In a way, there were some big shakeups. In another way, not so much. We went into last week with a bunch of teams still either undefeated or winless. And then all at once, all of those were gone. Everybody has at least one win. Everybody has at least one loss. There is a 5-way tie. 8 playoff spots, 5-way tie at 4-1. And even with the game differential tiebreaker applied, 3 teams tied for first place. This might be the season where we find out what tiebreaker there is, if any, after game differential, because as I always say, I don't know, and it's never come up yet. There is also a clump of teams in the middle fighting over those last 3 playoff spots. The Toronto Rock Slide have the strongest position right now at 3-2 with the best tiebreaker of the 3-2 teams, but still a lot that can happen over 3 weeks. And looking back at that 3-way tie at the top of the standings, we have already lost to Staff United and now beaten the East Coast Esper. And sure enough, this week's opponent is Pendragon United. So we get a chance to influence how that tie shakes out one way or the other. This is the matchup right here. Pendragon United have Charizard, Ninetales, Garchomp, Pheromosa, Leafeon, Exeggutor, Scraggy, Raichu, Shellos, almost forgot that Pokemon's name for a second, Tapu Lele, and Ribombee. So it's a scary team, for sure. Obviously, the thing that gets the most attention is the Gigantamax Charizard, with Ninetales able to set up the sun for it. So Charizard can Gigantamax, can get its Fire-type attacks turned into G-Max Wildfire. That does big Fire-type damage. It can be boosted by the Solar Power ability that Charizard gets, as long as Ninetales, or another teammate, but usually Ninetales, has set up the sun. And then, of course, it gets the residual Wildfire damage afterward. It's kind of like the G-Max Cannonade damage that I've been using with Blastoise throughout the season, except Charizard has more of a VGC track record. Blastoise was not bad in Sword and Shield VGC, but Charizard genuinely was one of the top threats in the format a lot of the time. They also have 2 different Chlorophyll Pokemon. At one point they had 3, but now it's just Leafeon and Exeggutor. But those can play very different roles, Leafeon being faster and more of a physical attacker, while Exeggutor is a special attacker. It has Psychic Stab, and they do also have Tapu Lele to set up the Psychic terrain for it. Tapu Lele, I believe, does not get Expanding Force itself, but Exeggutor does, and so they have a Psy Spam component to mix in with the Sun mode, with Exeggutor boosted by Chlorophyll. They have some solid supporting pieces around them. I mean, Garchomp is not a supporting piece, it's a threat in its own right, but it complements the rest of the team as a strong physical attacker with a very different matchup spread from a lot of the other Pokemon, making it so that, like, rock types, for example, and a few other threats can't just roll over this team. Pheromosa is one of the very fastest Pokemon in the game. I think it might be the 3rd fastest, although I have the 2 above it on my team. We'll talk about that. But, of course, it's an Ultra Beast with a lot of high stats, a lot of opportunities to do big damage, or coach its teammates, or use Speed Swap to boost their speed. And, of course, it can get Beast Boost on, I think, either of its attacking stats or its speed. Then we get into the... Pheromosa can be a support Pokemon. It can also play offense. For the more dedicated support pieces, Raichu, of course, gives them Lightning Rod to protect the Charizard from Electric-type attacks, as well as Fake Out and various other support moves, some speed control and so on with Nuzzle and Electro Web, as well as disruptive moves like Charm, and probably gets Encore in this generation. I know it does the Scarlet and Violet, that's for sure. Shellos is Baby Gastrodon. It's a pure water type, so not immune to electric, but it does still have Storm Drain, protecting Charizard and Ninetales from water type attacks, and it can use Yawn and stuff. Scraggy has actually put in a lot of work throughout this season, especially in the last couple weeks, as a bulky Pokemon with Eviolite that gets the Scrafty support kit, Intimidate, Fake Out, as well as stuff like Foul Play, so you don't need to invest much in Scraggy's own offense. We've also seen it use Snarl. Tapu Lele is a strong offensive Pokemon in its own right. We've also seen the Ribombee show up sometimes. I've never fully understood the Ribombee on this team, but it is certainly a threatening Pokemon as a fast fairy type with Quiver Dance. It does feel a little bit redundant in some ways with Pheromosa and Tapu Lele, but it can be very dangerous if I sleep on it. So strong team of threats all the way around. The main modes, of course, are the Charizard Sun, the Chlorophyll speed boosting stuff with Leafeon and Exeggutor, the Psy Spam with Exeggutor and Tapu Lele. All of that flows together very nicely with Garchomp as kind of a glue piece tying things together. And then Pheromosa, Scraggy, and Raichu in particular are strong supports, but they have others available as well. So, one thing that you are not likely to see very much with this team is Trick Room. They do have Trick Room options, but given that most of their offensive Pokemon are fast and just want to hit hard quickly and break through, overwhelm the opposing team, I think one advantage that I have in this matchup is speed, and I am looking to capitalize that immediately with my first bring this week, and that is Regieleki. This Regieleki, I'm going to have to check my speed stats before we play because I built the team a couple days ago and I'm already forgetting, but I believe this Regieleki outspeeds Chlorophyll boosted Exeggutor. I think it was impossible to creep boosted Leafeon, so Leafeon actually could be a sleeper threat into my team for sure. But I do at least think I have Exeggutor covered speed-wise with this, although Regieleki doesn't do much damage into it. But I like just being able to throw off a big Thunderbolt into Charizard, or even into something like Pheromosa or Ribombee or Scraggy. You get the idea. Electro Web gives me a little bit more speed control, and it also gives me an attack that can hit the partner next to Raichu. Because Electro Web is a spread move, Raichu is immune and will be boosted by Lightning Rod, so that is something to watch out for. But in some positions, it's worthwhile to click the Electro Web anyway, because into a spread move, Lightning Rod does not protect the partner from damage or from the speed drop. I have Rain Dance on Regieleki. It seemed like a good idea to have it somewhere on this team with my opponent having such a strong Sun mode. And I guess this tips my hand that I'm not bringing Purloin to this one. I did think about it for a while, but not this time at least. But I wanted to fit Rain Dance somewhere, and Regieleki doesn't have a ton to do with the third move slot. It's not like it has much of a coverage move pool, especially on the special side, unlike the physical one from last week. So I had the Rain Dance option if I want it, and then just Protect, Magnet to get some more out of that electric type damage. Pretty simple set. Regieleki, of course, it is very strong with Gen 8 Transistor, but it does have a lot of exploitable weaknesses. Some of my opponent's team is very threatened by Regieleki, and I like the speed control that it brings, but a lot of my opponent's team is also very strong into it. To try to make up for that to an extent, I am pairing it with Zygarde, and actually that does bring me to one thing that I haven't mentioned yet. I'm pretty sure I talked all the way back in the draft recap about using Disquake with Regieleki and Zygarde with 1,000 Arrows instead of Earthquake. Yeah, I've only found out this week that Regieleki doesn't actually learn Discharge. I just assumed that it did. Surely I must have learned back when Sword and Shield VGC was current that Regieleki doesn't learn Discharge. Thinking back, I guess I don't remember ever running that move. But yeah, I can't actually do Disquake because Regieleki doesn't get that move. But I can still pair these Pokemon together. And Zygarde is particularly helpful into Raichu because Raichu doesn't want to hang out on the field in front of Regieleki if Zygarde is also there, right, next to Regieleki. Lightning Rod is not that scary if I can still click Electro Web into the partner, and meanwhile click 1,000 Arrows into Raichu. 1,000 Arrows also very strong into Ninetales, generally strong into a lot of my opponent's team. A lot of them will take quite a bit of damage from it. Charizard is not immune to 1,000 Arrows because of the unique properties of that move. And yeah, it's Choice Band Zygarde again. Actually, I should be able, you won't be able to see this, but I should be able to take make a quick estimate of what it is that I was speed creeping here. Regieleki, Zygarde. Okay, so Regieleki is a lot faster than Zygarde on this team. I think that must be creeping boosted Exeggutor, and Zygarde must just be faster than like Charizard, Garchomp, probably Raichu. So it is going to be slower than the Chlorophyll users. But it is Choice Band Zygarde once again. Literally every single week this season I've brought Choice Band Zygarde. That was not what I thought I would do, but every week I think this thing threatens a lot of damage. It just doesn't hit very hard. How do I make up for that? Especially with the Jolly Nature to creep some of my opponent's fast threats. And so here we are. Outrage gives me strong coverage into Garchomp, which is otherwise a Pokemon that my team actually has a fair bit of trouble dealing with. It also gives me something to hit the grass types, of which my opponent has two. And it gives me a stronger max Wormwind than Scale Shot. That said, Outrage is kind of dangerous to click outside of Dynamax because you cannot choose what target it goes into, especially with my opponent having two fairy types that could go into an immunity. So I have Scale Shot as a weaker option where I can at least more consistently hit the correct target, but it doesn't do the same kind of damage. Rock Slide is helpful into Charizard and Ninetales. I do think we'll probably see a Chardy Berry on the Charizard because my opponent is definitely familiar with the value of that, but if I get a clear shot, the Rock Slide, wiping that thing out could be very helpful. It also, as a max move, lets me set up a Sandstorm, so that's another way to change the weather. And yeah, I have Scale Shot in that last move slot, as already explained. I did think about Iron Tail. There's not really... I mean, there is one particular thing that it covers this week. It's Tapu Lele. Actually, I guess it covers Rabombi, because Rabombi resists or is immune to both of Zygarde's stabs, although I do have the Rock Slide. Iron Tail would cover Tapu Lele. The reason I was actually interested in it was just the defense boost from Max Steel Spike. My opponent's team mostly uses special attacks, but against Garchomp or Leafeon, the boost could be valuable. But I didn't really think I needed it this matchup, so I decided Scale Shot as a weaker but safer Dragon-type attack was a little bit more useful here, but most likely Zygarde just exists to click 1,000 arrows as usual. Now, the duo of Regieleki and Zygarde is very strong, but there is... I mean, the Garchomp is a threat, but also there's one other giant threat to it, which is that these two Pokemon, between the two of them, don't have answers to my opponent's two grass types. I think my opponent will bring at least one of Leafeon and Exeggutor. Wouldn't be shocking if I saw both, since I'm using the Blastoise team, so I did need some outs to that, and that is why Ninjask is once again making an appearance this week. Now, covering things like those grass types is one of the main things that I drafted Volcarona for, and I did really think about Volcarona this week, but head-to-head between my two bug types, I think I prefer Ninjask in this matchup because it's faster than Pheromosa and Rabombi. It can get past a Focus Sash on one of those Pokemon with dual Wing Beat, and Skitter Smack, just throwing that attack off when I get the chance, is very helpful into my opponent's team, because obviously it does a ton of damage to their two grass types, but also the special attack drop could be helpful into Tapu Lele and even Charizard and Ninetales, right, and Raichu. So Skitter Smack is a spammable-ish move. Dual Wing Beat gives me something specific for my opponent's fast bug types. I have the Focus Sash because it's Ninjask, it's frail. It's probably speed creeping. I don't know. This might also be boosted Exeggutor, but I'm not confident that it is. But I have Protect and Speed boost anyway. Oh, it's probably speed creeping Pheromosa. This speed stat is in the middle between Regieleki and Zygarde. It's probably creeping Pheromosa. And then I have speed boost anyway. And then for the third move, I actually was thinking about Absorb to activate Weakness Policy Blastoise, but I didn't end up doing that this week. I'll talk about that in a bit. I was thinking about Screech to boost my physical attackers and move this nice on paper, but I've never yet actually clicked. But I think I like Dig here because it gives Ninjask a way to threaten Ninetales and Raichu a little bit more effectively. And it gives me a way to stall some turns of Sun or something like that, or Psychic Terrain or something, if that's what I need, right? With Ninjask, I can Protect and then Dig, and then that's a couple turns gone right there. They can KO Ninjask on the third turn, but maybe I'm protecting some Pokemon in the back that way. So I think Dig is... Max Quake is also nice if I end up Dynamaxing Ninjask for some reason. I think it's okay here. That said, for more coverage into Garchomp and Grass types, you probably saw this one coming. It is Life Orb Weavile, again, with Ice Shard, Triple Axle, Throat Chop, and Protect. Once again, I filled in the Ice-type attacks, and then I glanced over my opponent's team to see if there was really any reason that I would want to have Throat Chop, or whether I could sack that move for something else. My opponents only ice resists this week. There are two of them. They are Ninetales and Shellos. But Ninetales is very likely to come to the matchup. Shellos is a maybe. I think the coverage from Throat Chop is still reasonable to have. Once again, I want a strong Ice Shard. I have a bunch of attack EVs. I have a Life Orb. I can click Ice Shard into Charizard in Psychic Terrain because it's a Fire type. But also Weavile outspeeds most of their team at max speed here. Pretty much everything except Pheromosa and Chlorophyll boosted Pokemon, I think. Or if they set Tailwind, then that's an issue as well. And I could throw off a big Triple Axle into certainly Garchomp. The grass types are trickier because of Chlorophyll, but there are a lot of positions where I can click Ice Shard. Weavile's offense is not foolproof into this team, but I think it is very helpful. Next is Blastoise. I actually don't like Blastoise that much in this matchup, considering that I drafted it partly with the Charizard matchup in mind all the way back in the first round of the draft. But I honestly feel like I'd be kind of throwing content-wise if I didn't bring Blastoise to the Charizard matchup, so here it is all the same. I was thinking about Weakness Policy Blastoise like last week, but then I ran some calcs, mainly into Charizard's Solar Beam, and yeah, Blastoise is just never safe to take that without the Rindo Berry, so I don't know how likely it is that I bring Blastoise to a game. I think certainly for game one, I expect I probably lean more on the first four Pokemon, but I can change my mind depending on what my opponent brings to the set. But it is just mixed bulk and offense, Rindo Berry, Blastoise to take like a Solar Beam or a Max Overgrowth if we have clashing Gigantamax starters, or like a Leaf Storm from Exeggutor or something, and hit back with G-Max Cannonade or Muddy Water or Ice Beam into the grass types and Garchomp. It does give me yet a little bit more coverage into the most threatening Pokemon that they have, into the Regieleki and Zygarde duo. So it's not necessarily actually the best fit on the team for this week, but it does have ways that it can contribute. And you probably clicked on this to see whether Blastoise or Charizard comes out ahead, so let's actually test that, right? For the last slot, I had a bunch of different Pokemon I was considering. It actually was a really hard decision this week, what Pokemon to bring 6th. And once again, I am bringing this Pokemon, even though I'm not quite sure about it. It is Mienshao again. I feel like this Pokemon is not entirely clicked for me so far this season, and I don't know how likely it is to come to a game this week. But I do think that it is of some value here, given that a lot of my game plan is about outspeeding the opponent, that I have this Pokemon, which is fast, but slower than some of my opponent's threats normally, running the Choice Scarf to flip the script on them. I think it's nice that I have the Inner Focus to make it immune to Scraggy, Intimidate, and Fake Out. And then, yeah, it's just max attack, close combat, rock slide, poison jab, U-turn. Every one of those moves is threatening into something on my opponent's team. Close combat is probably the best attack I have on the whole team into Scraggy. And also just a strong spammable stab. Rock slide, of course, is good into Charizard, Ninetales, and also Ribombee, which might not expect to be outsped by Mienshao before they know about the Scarf. I have U-turn to target Exeggutor's double weakness, and also pivot out into something like Weavile that can more effectively deal with that Pokemon. And then the only move that I'm not sure about is Poison Jab. I did think about a couple of other moves that I think might be better there, but I like Poison Jab in theory because it's the best answer this Pokemon has to Tapu Lele, and I don't want to sleep on Tapu Lele. That Pokemon is not one of the most obvious attention-grabbing ones of my opponent's team, but it is a giant threat. So this is, unless I make a late change, what I'm bringing against Pendragon United. Again, I want the duo of Regieleki and Zygarde to outspeed opponents and get big damage, complemented by Ninjask and Weavile covering their weaknesses, and I can mix in Blastoise and Mienshao if I want to index a little bit more in a particular direction based on what my opponent has brought. But everything's subject to change when I see the team preview. Most likely the first 4 Pokemon are what I bring to Game 1. We'll just have to go to the battles and see. Alright, now that I have a capture card, my opponent suggested that this time we play on the Switch instead of on Showdown, and that seemed fun to me. So I was scrambling before ZA came out to put my team together. It's kind of fun, picking Shield back up for the first time in a while. I was not used to training in this game. I had done a little bit of EV training for Pokemon that I could send to Violet, just taking advantage of my resources in this game. But I wasn't used to thinking about things like Dynamax candies and Watt traders. It was kind of fun to get back into that routine and remember bit by bit how to do it. I didn't have a Zygarde cube in this game. I had to look up where to get the Zygarde cube. And at one point, biking around the wild area, I was about to bump into a wild Pokemon, and I tried to jump my bike over it. You can't do that in this region. Anyway, the team is all here, as I believe I described already in an earlier recording. You can see I had to train some of these Pokemon. I think this Regieleki was already at level 100. I've used it on the Shield ladder back when this was current gen. I had to train a couple of the others to level 100 because that is the level for hyper training in this generation. And Zygarde and Ninjask don't exist in Violet, so couldn't send them there. As for the others, I actually caught Weavile, Mienshao, and Blastoise in Violet, got them EV trained and hyper trained, and then transferred them over here. Just make sure I remember what I'm working with here. G-Max Blastoise, Hydro Cannon, Muddy Water, Rindo Berry, yep. First been Zygarde, of course, every single week so far, and I do have the correct ability. Good, important. Scarf Mienshao. I guess I'm keeping Poison Jab, given that I'm about to play. Life Orb Weavile. Yeah, got Dig on the Ninjask. Got the Focus Sash, got some speed. And then, of course, the Regieleki. Really, I'm going over the team again for my benefit, and because Still have a few minutes before I'm probably connecting with my opponent. There we go. Now you get to see them in-game. I guess I can cut the recording here and come back when I get connected. One other thing, actually. After watching back a little bit of my ZA footage from my recent streams, which you can see on twitch.tv/slowpokewellpkmn. At time of recording, I haven't finished the playthrough yet, so more of that to stream. After watching back some of that footage, I have lowered the game volume just a little bit more than I had already lowered it over some past streams, so hopefully it's still okay. Sounds alright to me. Maybe I'll want to lower it more later, but yeah. We'll see. Figuring things out as I go. Now let's cut to the battles. So while I'm waiting, I took a look at my rental teams in S.H.I.E.L.D. because I didn't remember what I had here, and all but one of these are actually my old teams from when I was messing around in VGC formats in this generation before I started actually going to tournaments in Sword and Shield. I think I rented them myself to preserve a record of them, and then I forgot that I'd done that. But this little moment in personal history here, I gotta take a look at some of these and see if I can do something with their legacies. This one was an all-blue team. This is a rental from someone else, I don't remember. This one was an all-blue team that I made for the Galarian Articuno Shiny Distribution competition. The one where Galarian Shiny Articuno was a participation prize. So I made a team of all blue Pokemon. This one was alright on paper. I think I did okay with it. I mean, Thundurus, Kyogre, Zacian, pretty strong group. This does actually have a lasting legacy on my current PDL team because this is where I used Tangrowth as budget Amoonguss, which would later inspire me to draft Tangela. This was my Series 13 team with Johto, legendary and mythical Pokemon that I actually did make sure to bring all of them from Johto. I think Virtual Console Crystal or Silver, I don't know, I have both. I don't know if this was the final version. I think I might have switched to Weakness Policy Lugia at some point. Anyway. All yellow team for the Zapdos distribution. This was my favorite of the three monocolor teams. It was the hardest to build, but that meant I put the most work into it, and then it actually performed best. Main mode was Regieleki Zapdos. Actually, this is almost certainly the same Regieleki that I'm using in this week's match. Regieleki Zapdos. Cresselia in the back. And I don't know, somebody else. But I also had a full Trick Room mode with Exeggutor, Necrozma mixed in. Mimikyu could activate the weakness policy on Necrozma. Necrozma is the only restricted Pokemon in this game that's officially yellow, so these were made for dual restricted formats, but Necrozma was the only one I was allowed here. I had an opponent on Showdown suggest that I use Shiny Groudon, but that was not within the rules that I set, and I don't have a Shiny Groudon anyway. On Showdown when I was testing this. Also, that Alolan Exeggutor slot, I tried a lot of different Pokemon there. But I needed to not just auto-lose to Ferrothorn. So that's how Alolan Exeggutor got onto the team. I later got a second fire move on Zapdos, but Zapdos was actually a pretty late addition, and then it ended up being the carry in most games for this team. And then the red one. This one wasn't very good. This was probably medium effort, lowest performance of the three, with blue being lowest effort, medium performance, and yellow highest effort, highest performance. Scizor was pretty bad on this team. I tried. Latios was alright. I tried a Carvanha once on one version of this team. Carvanha is red, Sharpedo is not. And Aqua Jet to activate a weakness policy on somebody, either Charizard or Groudon. I don't remember, but maybe I should have stuck with that version. Anyway. Just a little bit of personal history. I've not looked at this one yet, actually. Oh, hang on. Oh, this is the Weakness Policy Lugia version. Yeah, so I did make an update. I think this was the final version of this team. But also, this might be teasing some future content right here. Series 13 was a crazy mythical format where there were no restrictions on what Pokemon you could use. Most teams on the ladder were 5 restricteds and Whimsicott. And I decided it would be fun to try to get a baby Pokemon to Master Ball rank in that format, and I did with this Pichu. And I have Pichu, the rank master, sitting in home. And I've been meaning before the end of Reg J to bring this Pichu up to Violet and try to get it to Master Ball again. So that's something I want to do after I play through ZA and when a couple more of my current projects are finished. There we go, a little tease for the future there. Not super Draft League related, but it is fun to re-explore Shield a little bit. And hey, if you're sticking around through the middle part of this battle, you get some inside information a little bit, maybe. Or this video. Maybe you get a little inside information, we'll see. And now I've remembered that wasn't even the right menu to connect with my opponent. It's through YCOM. Like I said, it's coming back to me, but it's taking some time. Okay, looks like it's time. I can decide the battle rules. Surely. I can figure this one out. Level 50. Double battles, 20 minutes. This looks fine, right? Said all Pokemon at level 50 is important. Some of mine are at 100. Oh, I need special Pokemon allowed. Because Zygarde is one. But yeah, it's allowed here. Okay, I think we're good with this. Opponent can see my Pokemon's nicknames. Absolutely fine. I want to use my party. I confess, I do like In the Fog. I know that's a hot take in some circles, but given that I picked this music for Pendragon United back when they first joined the league, and my Gen 1 champion stuff isn't in here, we'll let them be the home team for this one. Tapu Lele, Shellos, Charizard, Raichu, Ninetales, Garchomp, and I actually have a minute and a half to pick. I can't just sit here and yap as long as I feel like. What do they not have that I was worried about? I'm drawing a blank. There was something, right? Oh, any of their grass types. Right, I ran the Rindo... Okay, the Rindo Berry on Blastoise is in large part for Charizard Solar Beam. But I don't know if I would have run a whole item just for that. If I hadn't thought that at least one of Exeggutor and Leafeon would show up. As it stands, though, I feel pretty good about the Zygarde Regieleki lead. It is kind of Garchomp weak, so I definitely bring Weavile. Ninjask feels a lot worse now that I know they didn't bring any grass types. I'm not sure I can bring Ninjask to a game. Maybe I can, like, Max Quake in front of Ninetales or Tapu Lele. I don't think it's a game 1 play. I could bring Blastoise. I think I'm okay with that for game 1. The worst thing to see here would be Garchomp lead. I could do a Lecky Weavile with Zygarde in the back. But I'm running out of time, and I think I'm okay with what I've done. Yeah, I'm not sure Ninjask comes to a game when they didn't bring Exeggutor or Leafeon. Here we go, this is some Sword and Shield gaming right here. It is taking me right back. Tapu Lele, and of course. Okay, so, I mean, I can just 1,000 Arrows or Max Quake something. Psychic Seed? Yeah, okay. I'll be honest, there is a sense of spectacle with the battles in this game that there is not really in Scarlet and Violet. Fond though I am of those. I don't love Regieleki here. I also don't love switching. I can switch Blastoise in. It's relatively expendable. It's definitely my weakest Pokemon in this matchup. Also, that makes Max Quake a little bit more appealing because I could get the special defense boost to Blastoise, but I actually think I'd rather just 1,000 Arrows hit both of these. But also Scale Shot Garchomp. But I think hitting both of these is okay. Then I can preserve the max for any of my other 3 Pokemon, including Blastoise with that G-Max Cannonade. I don't know, it's not a great lead position for me. Got the whole team in Luxury Balls. Oh, Scarf Lele. Okay, rough start. Got the whole team in Luxury Balls. Conveniently, I already had a Zygarde in one. Actually, I think Regieleki is not in one, is it? Okay, well, we just dodged something. I think that was a Rock Slide. Maybe it was something else. Why would that be a Rock Slide? I don't know what that was, but it was something that could miss. This isn't Showdown. I don't have a log that I can read. Scarf Lele locked into Moonblast makes me think. As much as I dislike it here, I might actually have to go back to Regieleki and pressure the Lele. I can't Ice Shard. I can Protect and Cannonade Lele. I think that's actually a little bit better than Aleki. Aleki is so badly positioned into Garchomp. I've already shown all the Pokemon that I've brought, but what can you do? But Protect. Gigantamax, go for the biggest Cannonade I have into Tapu Lele because I'm under a ton of pressure from that Pokemon right off the bat. The Choice Scarf looking like an excellent bring for my opponent here. How do I beat Scarf Lele in a later game? I have Scarf Manchow. I don't know that speed interaction because I'm not running max speed. What's this? Raichu. Okay. Scaring the Garchomp off the field potentially is potentially good news. We'll see. Big G-Max Blastoise. I'd have to get that in the thumbnail somehow. I think this music might mean that I just got a KO, the way the music changed there. Love watching G-Max Cannonade in-game. No, I absolutely did not get a KO. I think it's just timed. I don't remember how it works in this one. Okay, Lele will drop soon. Fake Out from Raichu is a threat. I think I have to preserve Weavile. I think it's... The problem is if they have Charizard in the back, Aleki is probably one of my best answers to that, especially now that I've already used my max. But I think I'm better off switching to Aleki than I am just leaving Weavile in here. I'll Cannonade this slot. They could Nuzzle, they could... there's a lot they could do. We'll see. Yeah, Regieleki's in an Ultra Ball. I didn't have one in a Luxury Ball, and I was not making the time to get one when ZA was coming out imminently. Okay, no full para, please. that was a crit. Doesn't much matter with Nuzzle. Ah, okay. Well, it happens. Problem with bringing Aleki in here is it can't really do anything. I have no useful move into this Raichu. I mean, I can Protect. I could Electro Web, but Lele's about to drop anyway. And Raichu would get boosted by that, which is probably just not ideal. So I guess I just Protect again with that slot. Blastoise is putting out a lot of damage. It would put out more if not for the full para, but yeah, my other Pokemon slot is just really bad so far. Scarf Lele. Actually, Ninjask might be helpful into that. Because it can skid or it can outspeed, at least after a speed boost. It can skid or smack, or it can max Quake, if that's helpful. Okay, Moonblast into Aleki. Raichu just goes for Thunderbolt into Blastoise. Does some damage. Full para. Ah, okay. Well, we finally knocked something out here. But if a Garchomp comes in next, they can probably just knock out Blastoise. Regieleki can't do anything useful at all. Like, I can click Rain Dance. And maybe that weakens a Charizard in the back if they have it. Although, we've seen 3 of their Pokemon. They can't have both Charizard and Ninetales. Are we going to find out right now? It is Charizard. Okay. I can Rain Dance or I can Electro Web. Electro Web helps Raichu knock out my own Blastoise, but I think it probably does that anyway. Considering the damage we took in Dynamax. It just protected Lucky. Then I need Weavile to beat their last 2 Pokemon. There's no other way. But yeah, I think my Blastoise is just a sitting duck anyway at this point, so I think I will go for the Electro Web, even though it helps them knock Blastoise out. And I'll go for, not Hydro Cannon, Muddy Water, but I probably won't get to execute the move. And here comes the G-Max Charizard. Well, if they Solar Beam Blast, or if they... I don't know if I take... I ran all my calcs against Solar Power being active, so I don't know if I take Max Overgrowth. If they target Blastoise with that, expecting it to KO, then maybe I get the Muddy Water off. Okay, like if Raichu does something else other than go for the KO on Blastoise. That's some chip into Charizard. It's a speed drop. Raichu goes next, it goes for Thunderbolt. Okay. I mean, that was always the most likely thing here. Oh, they could just Wildfire too, and then win with... I mean, yeah, Weavile's not pulling this one back. Oh, it's Airstream. Okay, well that just offsets the Electro Web drop. But it doesn't actually just do that, it knocks out my second last Pokemon. As well. I should have gotten a screenshot of the Charizard. It's not too late, I guess. I mean, I can just take it from the footage. Let's not get too distracted by that, anyway. +1 Raichu. I bet that does a lot. I have to prioritize the Charizard, but I bet +1 Raichu does a lot to my Weavile anyway. Okay, should be faster than either of their Pokemon, so I don't have to rely on Ice Shard. Is Psychic Terrain still up? I know I can Ice Shard Charizard either way, but no, it's not still up. I don't even have an efficient Life Orb number on this Weavile, because I just went 252, 252. Well, maybe we can knock the Charizard out at least. They could easily max guard here. Raichu outspeeds. Raichu outspeeds? Raichu outspeeds. Am I not running max speed Weavile? I thought I was. Oh, I never lowered Raichu's speed because it was immune to the Electro Web. Right, that's what happened there. Weavile does outspeed Raichu, if not for the boost that I could not offset. Okay, really bad first game. How, or why not, how do I try to pull it back? The Scarf Lele is a giant problem. Zygarde is really good into their team if I don't let it drop to surprise outspeed Moonblast turn 1. So that's one thing to keep in mind. If I bring Zygarde in the back, that's a big plus that I didn't have in that game. I might actually need Ninjask. I could lead Ninjask Blastoise. I don't think they ever saw the Rindo Berry in that game. No, they just clicked electric attacks into Blastoise, so I could even be bluffing Side Absorb with that, if that helps me somehow. Because obviously I did bring the Side Absorb option. I never clicked it, but it was in the video last week. Does that change the way they play against Blastoise Ninjask? It might. That said, I don't really want to hard commit. I don't think I want to hard commit to maxing Blastoise. In fact, against this team, it might be better to click to max one of my 2 ground attack users, either Zygarde or Ninjask. So I could lead Weavile Ninjask. I could lead Mienshao Ninjask. That's not bad. If they bring the same lead, I can surprise the Lele with Poison Jab from my own Scarf user, right? Then do I even need Ninjask? Well, I don't know how much the Poison Jab does. I'm running out of time. It's these four. No Blastoise ultimately. Maybe we think about it in Game 3, if we get to Game 3. I'm not sure Mienshao and Ninjask together makes sense. I guess if Poison Jab doesn't one-shot the Lele, and if they lead Lele at all, then being able to double target it with Turbo Fast Pokemon is something, although it's not even Lele. Charizard, Shellos. Okay, well, I guess it's good that I didn't go with the Blastoise lead. Shall we pop the Charting Berry? I'm not confident that's the best thing to do here. I could Skitter Smack the Charizard. That would be pretty funny. And Rock Slide. And that makes the Charizard a little bit weaker, especially if Ninetales comes in. But who's taking hits from Charizard anyway? Maybe Zygarde if I get the positioning right. I don't know how I beat Tapu Lele if they don't lead with it. Which they didn't. I might actually have to get Mienshao out of here. In favor of Zygarde, I guess. Okay. I might actually max Ninjask here. I think I am down to do that and get the max Quake boost on Zygarde. It feels really silly. But what if? I can pull something off from there. I don't know. They're doing a good job of punishing me for over-adjusting to the Lele lead. Okay, both maxing turn 1 this time. Oh, if it's just Airstream in the Mienshao slot. Which I was thinking about earlier, but then circled around to not thinking about. Then I don't think I like switching Zygarde in like this. Good news is I have... Ninjask survives this turn. I have dual Wing Beat, so I can get my own Max Airstream that with the speed boost is always faster than Charizard's. And if they attack Ninjask this turn, then they don't attack Zygarde this turn, so that works too. Rock Slide might actually have been nice here, although there's probably a Chardy Berry. I think I might need Mienshao later. Alright, it's risky, but we go Zygarde and hope for the best. Airstream into Zygarde. I guess one shot again. Turn 1, both games. Okay. Only hope now is Airstream with Ninjask and lock Mienshao into Rock Slide and hope they somehow don't have a Chardy Berry. Take the Ice Beam, no problem. It's a Shellos. Also, I had the Focus Sash, even if it somehow got the greatest crit in history. Probably lose to Tapu Lele in the back. Maybe not. Well, let's try to get past these threats first. Airstream into Charizard and Rock Slide. Thanks to Speed Boost, I can preserve a speed advantage. Playing on the Switch is a different beast, huh? Well, the other problem with my Max Quake is that it gave the boost to my Pokemon that you turned out, not to my Zygarde, so I didn't really think that all the way through. Not playing great this week. Also, we missed the Rock Slide into Charizard. Crit the Shellos, though. How about that? Wildfire knocks Ninjask out. Well, should get another shot at the Rock Slide, but I can never switch Mienshao out and change what move it uses after that. Got the flinch on the Shellos too. Rock Slide crit and flinch, but missed the Charizard. Weavile will be slower because Weavile has not benefited from a max airstream, so I'm really just all in on this Rock Slide to knock Charizard out. with that in mind, I guess I'll Throat Chop Shallows. I don't even need to do that, actually. Well, Throat Trap into Charizard. No, I actually should have Ice Sharded Charizard. Oh well. I have a feeling this game is not going to come down to that decision. There's the Chardy Berry. Let's knock out Shellos, so if Weavile gets a move off, it can tickle the Charizard a little bit more. Okay. It is still possible to Rock Slide flinch the rest of the way through this game. It is not quite over yet, but Mienshao will definitely be faster than Lele after the probably is anyway, but especially after the Airstream boost. It is possible to Rock Slide flinch all the way to the Promised Land. Let's go. Hit both targets. Charizard's gone. Lele did not take much. It flinched. The Wildfire is doing damage, but that'll be over soon. I just need to flinch everything every turn the rest of the way. Raichu. I have Inner Focus. They can't flinch me with their Fake Out. However, I also have not used PP ups, so I also have 7 more shots to flinch them to death. We get the second flinch on Lele. Draining Kiss Raichu. Nice tech. And that seals the win. For my opponent with a crit. Whatever. It's that kind of a match. Alright. Big statement win last week. Little bit of a different outcome this week. My opponent prepped really well for this one. I was scrambling from turn 1, game 1. So there were some other things that happened, but I don't think it takes anything away from their win. And I'm going to be scared if we meet again in playoffs. Of course, I have to make playoffs first. 3-3 now, with 2 weeks of the regular season to go. But yeah, GG's to Sari. Was a lot of fun to train some Pokemon and Shield again and prepare and play our battles on the Switch. Maybe something like this will happen again at some point. And meanwhile, yeah, the PDL journey continues next week. 2 weeks of regular season left, like I said, and after this result, still no guarantee of making the playoffs just yet, but we'll do what we can.